baby.
I'm sorry?
Good evening, everyone. Shabbat Shalom. Wonderful to see all of you. Welcome to all of you who are joining from the comfort of your home or wherever you are watching the live stream. My name is Rabbi Matt Berger, and I'm very pleased to share the bima with our soloist, Allison Rosoff, and down at the piano, our accompanist, Joy Katzen-Guthrie. We are going to be talking about Tikkun Olam, the Jewish imperative and sacred obligation to repair or fix the world. We are working out of a special prayer book devoted to this evening's topic, and many members from our Social Action Committee, chaired by Maya Herman and Bill Ross, will be coming up to lead some prayers in Hebrew and prayers in English as well. And we're also very pleased to this evening honor Ellen Wall for her many, many years of leadership, leading and founding with Rabbi Gary Klein, our emeritus, the Social Action Committee, many, many years ago. Without further ado, we'll continue. On page 1, you'll find these words of welcome. Psalm 145, Hine Matov, how good and pleasant it is for us to gather together to share this beautiful day we call Shabbat. Hine Matov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. 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 Continue on page 1 in our prayer book, and Ellen Kessler is going to lead us in prayer.
A rabbi and a soap maker once went for a walk together. The soap maker said to the rabbi, "What good is Judaism? After thousands of years of teaching about goodness, truth, justice, and peace, after all the study of Torah and all the fine ideals of prophets, Look at all the trouble and misery in the world. If Judaism is so wonderful and true, why should all this be so?
And Ellen Walsh will be our next reader, also on page 1.
The rabbi said nothing. They continued walking until he noticed a child playing in the gutter. The child was filthy with soot and grime. "Look at that child," said the rabbi. "You say that soap makes people clean, but see the dirt on that youngster? What good is soap? With all the soap in the world, that child is still filthy. I wonder if soap is any use at all." The soap maker protested and said, "But Rabbi, the soap can't do any good unless it is used." "Exactly," cried the rabbi. "So it is with Judaism. It isn't effective unless it is applied in daily life and used."
Thank you. And our next readers will be Kara and Maya Herman.
There is no better exercise for the heart than reaching down and lifting someone up. These lights are only flickering flames, yet flames illumine our uncertain steps. Flames remind us of Sabbaths long past and of their beauty that delighted our hearts. May they inspire us to work for the great Sabbath of peace.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'hadlik ner shel Shabbat.
We'll continue now with a prayer for peace in Ukraine. As the world continues to witness this tragic and unprovoked war and humanitarian crisis, we need to pray for peace. May our leadership in our nation continue to lead with strength among the nations of goodwill. May the soldiers as well as the civilian fighters of Ukraine maintain their hope, courage, and strength in the face of grave danger. Eternal One, spread over Ukraine and the world your shelter of peace, your Sukkot Shlomecha. Guard all of the families whose lives have been uprooted due to the conflict. May their bodies, their homes, and their lands be protected and safe. And let us do our part to build a loving, just, and compassionate world speedily and in our own days, as we say, Amen. Going to continue now on page 3 with the words of the Barhu, the call to prayer. Let's rise. call Lynn Rosenthal forward. She'll be leading us in prayer on page 3, followed by Norma Van Ness.
Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Baruch atah Adonai Hama'ariv Aravim.
Only a single person was created in the beginning to teach that if any individual causes a single person to perish, it is though as an entire world would have been destroyed. And if anyone saves even a single person, it is as though the whole world has been saved.
Continue on the bottom of page 3. There are many fine things which you mean to do someday under what you think will be more favorable circumstances. But the only time that is surely yours is the present. Hence, this is the time to speak the word of appreciation and sympathy, to do the generous deed, to forgive the fault of a thoughtless friend, to sacrifice self a little more for others. Today is the day in which to express your noblest qualities of mind and heart, to do at least one worthy thing which you have long postponed, and to use your God-given abilities for the enrichment of someone less fortunate. Today you can make your life significant and worthwhile. The present is yours to do with as you will. Lauren Barlis is going to lead us right on the top of page 4.
Rabbi Moshe Leib, the tzaddik of Sasov, was known for his love of other people. One dark night, when heavy snow was falling outside, he heard someone tap at the window of his room. Rabbi Moshe Leib looked through the window and saw a strange man, dressed in tatters, with lacerations on his hands and face, and with a gleam of madness in his eyes. The rabbi hesitated for a moment, considering whether to let such a man into his house, but then thought to himself, if there is room for a man like that in God's universe, surely there is room for him in my home. And he at once opened the door wide and invited the man in. Reaching out to fellow human beings, providing shelter for wanderers, loving your neighbor as yourself, hearing cries of hunger and pain, standing up against injustice, taking part in the healing of the world. This is what it means to be a Jew. This is what it means to love your eternal God, to keep the words that God commands you upon your heart.
Shema Yisrael
Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Be seated and join us in the chanting of the words of V'ahavta, love God with all your heart, soul, and might. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha u'b'chol meodecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'eleh Asher Anochi Mitzavcha Hayom Alevavecha Vishinantam Levanecha Vidibarta Bam Vashiftecha Bevetecha Uvlechtecha Vaderen Ushokbecha Uvkumecha Ukshartam le'ot ayadecha, v'hayu letotafot ein einecha, uktavtam al mezuzot beitecha, uvisharecha, leman tizkeru, vasitem et kol mitzvotai, v'item kedoshim le'elohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem Asher hotzeiti echem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem Elohim Ani Adonai Elohechem. Our next two readers on page 5 and 6 are Phoebe Tave and Nicole Scalfa.
I, the Eternal One, have called you to righteousness and taken you by the hand and kept you. I have made you a covenant people, a light to the nations. We are Israel, witness to the covenant between God and God's children. This is the covenant I make with Israel. I will place Torah in your midst and write it upon your hearts. I will be your God, and you shall be my people. We are Israel. Our Torah forbids the worship of race or nation, possessions, or power. Hate, evil, and love what is good. Let justice well up as waters and righteousness as a mighty stream. We are Israel, schooled in the suffering of the oppressed.
You shall not oppress your neighbors nor rob them. You shall not stand idle while your neighbor bleeds. We are Israel, taught to beat swords into plowshares, commanded to pursue peace. Violence shall no longer be heard in your land, desolation and destruction within your borders. All your children will be taught your God, and great shall be the peace of your children. May this vision never fade. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we sing with one accord as Moses, Miriam, and Israel sang at the shores of the Red Sea.
Adonai, Mika kamocha neda b'kodesh, Nora tehilot oseh pele, Nora tehilot oseh pele. Malachutecha uvanecha, bokei ayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, Zehilianu ve'amaru, Zehilianu ve'ameru, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha neda b'kodesh, Nora tehilot oseh pele, Nora tehilot oseh pele.
Please rise now for the words of the tefillah, our standing prayers, beginning with Adonai Sifatai, God open up our lips.
Adonai sifatai tiftachu fi tahilatecha. Eternal God, open my lips that my mouth may declare your glory. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, V'Gonei Hakol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot V'Imahot, U'Mevi Gula Livnei V'neihem, Lema'an Shemo Be'yava, Melech Ozer, U'Mashiach U'Magin, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Ve'ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Michayei Hakol, Atah Rav Loshia, Morid Hatal, Michachel Chaim B'chesed, Michayei Hakol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Nofim V'Rofei Cholim, Umatir Asurim, U'Mechayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Ba'akevurot, U'Midom Elach, Melech Meimit, U'Mechayeh, U'Matzmiach Yeshua, V'Ne'eman Atah L'Chayot HaKol, Baruch atah Adonai, Michayei HaKol.
Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom yalucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. Feel free to be seated. We'll continue on page 9. My pleasure to call forward Phyllis Schachter.
We cannot merely pray to you, O God, to end war, for we know that you have made the world in a way so that all of us must find our own path to peace within ourselves and with our neighbors. We cannot merely pray to you, O God, to end starvation, for you have already given us the resources with which to feed the entire world if we would only use them wisely. We cannot merely pray to you, O God, to root out prejudice, for you have already given us eyes with which to see the good in all people, if we would only use them rightly. We cannot merely pray to you, O God, to end despair, for you have already given us the power to clear away slums and to give hope, if we would only use our power justly. We cannot merely pray to you, O God, to end disease, for you have already given us great minds with which to search out cures and healing, if we could only use them constructively. Therefore we pray to you instead, O God, for strength, determination, and courage, to do instead of just to pray, to become instead of merely to wish. Praised are you, O God. You bless our people Israel and all peoples with peace.
We'll continue now with Shalom Rav, our prayer for peace.
Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Ki ata melech Adon, lechol hashalom. Ki ata melech Adon, lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. V'tov beinecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael b'chol hein u'b'chol shah b'shlomecha. Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav,
Yisrael Amcha.
Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam.
Now you'll find prayers for healing also on page 10 as we think of following individuals in our community and beyond. First, all those who are suffering and injured due to the conflict in Ukraine. Along with the following individuals, we pray for their health: Laura Barnett, George Barnett, Yonatan Reuven Ben Rivka, Charlie Burke, Manuel Cruz, Eddie Deerfield, Gail Dwyer, Evelyn Edelman, Rob Edelman, Corrine Fairfield, Harry Fleisch, Denise Freifeld, Mitchell Freifeld, Deborah Gill, Leah Gottlieb, Nick Martin, Arnold Miller, Melissa Miller, William Miller, Alfred Moratelli, Rabbi Avram Reifer, Bonnie Richmond, Abby Richmond, Stephanie Ross, Robert Schoenfeld, Cyril Chagrin, Arlene Charlotte, Barbara Smith, Jeff Stark, Milton Teichman, John Walsh, and Sharon Worster. If there are other names that you'd like to add this time for healing, feel free.
My father, George Stark.
Mi shebeirach yavoteinu Mikor habracha limoteinu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and
Let us say, Amen. Mishebeira imotenu mikor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, The psalmist declares, Ma tovu aholecha Adonai tzevaot. How lovely are your tents, Eternal One. Happy are those who dwell in your house. They'll sing your praise forever. Happy are those whose strength is in you. Their heart turns to paths leading to blessing. Tonight we celebrate, in addition to all the wonderful work that our Social Action Committee is doing, we celebrate new member individuals and families who have become part of the Temple Ahavat Shalom community over these past few years. Right before the service, we enjoyed a wonderful dinner coordinated by our membership chair, David Bild, who's probably in the air as we speak, with the assistance of Nicole Skalka, our treasurer, who for many years was our membership chair, along with Temple staff. There's something that's very special and sacred about the partnership involved in joining a synagogue, a brit, or covenant. As a ritual moment, it needs a blessing that's filled with meaning. Yet this blessing must come from more than just the rabbi. Rather, it needs to come from the entire kahal, from the entire congregation, from clergy to new members to current members. All of us should participate in this blessing together. In the spirit, it's my honor at this time to begin by inviting all of our new members to join Allison and I on the bima, on the platform, as we welcome them with open arms, and then continue with the blessing that you'll find right on the screen. Come on, new members. I gave you a heads up that you were coming up before the service. This should not be a surprise. And this was the first new member dinner since before I was here, so probably all the way back to 2019, I would guess. Welcome, one and all. Okay, so you'll see on the screen for all of those who are here, of course, Bruchim Habaim, welcome. I enjoyed having the meal with you, and my family was there as well, and we had wonderful conversation as well as food. There, right on the screen, you'll find your part in this blessing, and then there's a part for current members, and then after that, there's a bracha or blessing at the end. So I'll invite all of our new members to read right there at the top where it says, "We give thanks for the opportunity to become a part of this congregation. May our involvement bring us friendship, meaning, and purpose. Let us commit to building." All right, now face the congregation, and all of us can recite as well. We are thankful for the new perspectives and spiritual gifts that all of you bring. May we learn from and strengthen one another. Together let us share our joys and find comfort in times of sorrow. We welcome you with excitement and commitment. And here's the blessing, if you'd like to look on the screen there. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu livnot kihilot kedoshot, which means, blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to build sacred communities. And now Allison and I are going to give all of you the three-part blessing that the biblical priests gave to the Israelites many thousands of years ago, and we're still doing it to this Shabbat day.
Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha.
Yehi ratzon.
Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yikuneka. Yisa Adonai panav elecha ve'yasem lecha shalom.
Yehi ratzon. May God bless you and keep you. May God's light and God's presence always shine brightly before you in your lives. And may God grant you many blessings, especially the blessing of shalom, of peace and a feeling of wholeness and completeness in your heart, as all of us together can say, Amen. Bruchim habayim. Welcome, one and all. Thank you. Continuing on page 11, you'll find a bio of Ellen Wall. I just have a few introductory remarks before I invite Ellen to the lectern. During the 16th century, long ago, in a great hilltop village called Sfat, there was a rabbi named Isaac Luria. He was called the Lion. And he looked at the world around him and saw that many things were broken. Sounds similar to today. There were people who were hungry, people who suffered from disease, there was conflict, there was disharmony. So the rabbi thought to himself, why does God let all of these things happen? After a few moments, a light bulb went off in his head, and he remarked, it's because God needs our help. His response became the foundation of what is today known as Lurianic Kabbalah, which is a mystical understanding of the world that still animates Jewish thought and life. Luria imagined that when God created the world, all of the light that would eventually lead to creation was poured into these earthenware vessels. But the light was very bright, too bright, and the vessels broke or shattered into millions of little pieces, like a piece of glass that shatters and ends up on the floor. According to Luria, God doesn't repair these vessels alone. We need to help, and we need to choose to repair the world. This is the essence of the Hebrew phrase, first found in the adoration and the prayer Aleinu many, many hundreds of years before, called Tikkun Olam. Rabbi Lawrence Kushner, a modern spiritualist, once put it like this: this is why God created us and gave us the freedom of choice. We're free to do whatever we please with the world. We can allow things to remain broken, or, as Luria taught us, we can try to repair the mess. The Jewish approach to fixing the world is quite practical. It involves learning and then doing. And this is precisely what Ellen Wall, who co-founded and chaired our Social Action Committee, has done since her arrival here at Temple Avat Shalom in 2004. She, along with Rabbi Gary Klein, saw a great need in this community and decided to join hands with interested individuals who wanted to make a true difference in the world. Since my arrival here at the congregation, I have marveled at Ellen's passion for and commitment to social justice. In a word, she is a dynamo. She cares so much about the issues facing our community, whether it's racial equity, voter registration, feeding the hungry, and ensuring that our natural resources are protected. As a leader, she helped the congregation focus on issues that matter, from monitoring the plethora of bills passed in the Florida legislature to keeping us informed about important ballot initiatives. And she continues to coordinate our annual Mitzvah Day, which brings together every single age group in our synagogue in our quest to make the world a better place. And she was instrumental in spearheading one of our newest initiatives, which is a partnership called United for Equity, where we hope to work on voter registration with a church in Clearwater. As we well know, it will take much more than a lifetime of doing mitzvot or sacred obligations to mend the broken pieces of our world. All we need to do is roll up our sleeves and get started, and to realize, as Ellen has taught us, that we have the ability to care for our world as well as each other, and that we can shed light where it's needed the most. In the spirit of gratitude, I say to you, Ellen, Rav Todot, many, many thanks for helping us remain committed to this sacred and spiritual task. Without further ado, it's my honor to call you forward to share a personal message with us on Shabbat.
On a Monday morning in late October 2004, I pulled into the temple parking lot. We had just moved from Virginia and wanted to join TAS. As I got out of the car, a man approached me and asked if I liked my sob. I said I loved it, and he added that he had just bought one for his wife. We stood there for a few seconds, and then the man said, "You don't have any idea who I am, do you?" I admitted that I didn't. That's how I met Rabbi Klein. We talked for a while in his office, and he asked me if there was anything in particular I'd like to do with the temple. My answer, I'd like to join your Social Action Committee. His response, how would you like to start one? After recovering from shock, I said that I needed some time. We had lived here for all of 5 days. Fast forward to March 2005, when Rabbi Klein and I joined forces to gather a group of interested people, which a bit later became the TAS Social Action Committee. Thank you, Rabbi Klein. During the ensuing years, we have grown, branched out, and sometimes clipped our branches. First Mitzvah Day, which never could have happened without Landy, then Gail, and now Tammy. Then we partnered with Emmanuel Community Church to provide a dinner for Pinellas Hope residents that was served by our confirmation class until COVID. We have served approximately 2,500 folks over the past 15 years. Later on, in no particular order, came the holiday dinners for Grace House and The Haven, along with gifts for all the children, supplying some TLC for about 1,300 residents over the past 14 years. For a few years, some worked with Pinellas County Schools as part of their mentoring program. We formed a group of medical professionals who helped many of us understand the importance of providing health care to many more Americans, and we advocated for gun safety reform. We started the Social Action Shabbats and provided every other year, beginning in 2008, the clarification of 45 to 50 proposed amendments to the Florida Constitution. The Speaking Up program was organized, and support for progressive or reform the Jewish movement in Ukraine was strongly encouraged, especially now. We are trying to start an equity group in conjunction with an AME church, and all of these were possible because we had and have the support of first Rabbi Klein and now Rabbi Berger and so many members of our congregation. Thank you, each and every SAC member, congregant, and staff member. I'm refraining from listing the names of particular people, but there is one that must be mentioned. Alex Perez has been a continual source of support since I walked in the door. Not much would have been accomplished over the past 17 years without the enthusiastic help from him and his staff. Thank you, Alex, and in recent years, Gimme. As we continue these programs under the strong leadership of Bill Ross and Maya Herman, we are, as individuals, dealing with other issues that face us all, no matter where on the political spectrum we fall. In 1947, in his book, Basic Judaism, which I read in religious school over 60 years ago, Milton Steinberg wrote, "When I inquire as to my duties to my fellow, I can accept only one answer. I may not withhold from him or her, or permit others to withhold any of the reverence, solicitude, and freedom I claim for myself. To this obligation, there are no exceptions." End quote. This is no less true today than it was then. All, no matter what race, gender, or religion, no matter how severely challenged, no matter who they love, no matter what their socioeconomic status may be, no matter where they were born or what age they are, all must be treated with equity and respect. It is up to us to actively seek ways of attaining this goal. It is up to us to be examples of fairness to all. It is up to us to help ensure that all people have the opportunity to succeed while being who they are. It is up to all of us to provide empathy to everyone. Part of the Union of Reform Judaism's vision is the URJ strives to create a more whole, just, and compassionate world. We motivate people from diverse backgrounds to participate and deepen their engagement in Jewish life and create a more inclusive Jewish community. The URJ's vision extends to the fuller community, as exemplified by some of their actions. On May 17th, they will launch a campaign to strengthen our democracy by encouraging and protecting voter participation. They have joined with the Anti-Defamation League to combat the alarming rise in anti-Semitic rhetoric and violence. They work to ensure religious freedom, pluralism, acceptance, and justice of all people throughout North America. And so we move on. Under the strong and dedicated leadership of Bill Ross, Maya Herman, and Rabbi Berger, our congregation, along with our Social Action Committee, will continue to support actions and activities that signal our wish for all to be treated justly and with equity. May each of us show the strength to help make this wish become a reality. Thank you for your continued support, and for this amazing honor.
Seat right alongside Rabbi. What I'll do is I'll talk about Gary's and then we can talk. Good evening, my name's Bill Ross, and I wanted to share something that Rabbi Gary Klein was unable to join us tonight. He has his special dinner, and then tomorrow they're going to have the wedding of his son, so he's family precedence on that. But he did write something out, and I'm happy to read it to you. Gary says, I'm grateful to the members of our congregation and the Social Action Committee for inviting me to offer tribute to our precious congregant, Ellen Wall. I wish I could be with you tonight and deliver this tribute in person. Instead, at Bill Ross's invitation, I'm preparing and presenting it through him. Our son Jeff is getting married tomorrow evening, and Eileen and I are hosting a Shabbat rehearsal dinner for out-of-town guests this evening. Gary goes on to say, when I became rabbi of our congregation in 1987, our congregation didn't have a social action committee. There were, however, ad hoc social action events that were held from time to time. I recall, for example, a sisterhood events that were sisterhood bus trip organized by Bobby Rosenberg to the Florida State Capitol Complex in Tallahassee to join with other groups to protest an attempt by the then Governor Martinez to impose strict antitrust legislation in regard to abortion. Once here, I began to work with the interested members of our then very small congregation to increase the number of those in the ad hoc social action events. We had a number of Habitat for Humanity building projects, and members of all ages worked together helping to build the homes for those who couldn't afford to purchase them. We also gathered a large group of Temple children and adults who marched through Clearwater in the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Memorial Commemoration each year. During those early years, I also tried repeatedly to find someone to organize and share an ongoing program through the establishment of the Social Action Committee. I was not successful in that endeavor until Ellen Wall came to town. I recall meeting Ellen for the first time in our parking lot as I was leaving the building, and she was coming to join the congregation. Our conversation began with a discussion about our respective cars, which we heard about. We were both drying sobs at the time. But within moments, our conversation changed to a discussion about Judaism and the role congregations could play in improving the world. When it came up in the conversation, I felt badly we didn't have a social action committee. Ellen volunteered to organize one. That was my lucky day. That was our congregation's lucky day, and that was the larger community's lucky day. Over the years, Ellen has enabled our congregation through its social action committee to bring so much blessing to each other and to the larger community. She has inspired others to join her in these endeavors, mostly because she is such a nice person. She is kind and respectful of others. She listens so carefully to what others say. Ellen is also intelligent, thoughtful, and discerning. She has an excellent knowledge of Judaism and an awareness of the fact that good deeds are the highest form of Jewish spirituality. Ellen and her husband Jeff are also very generous, not only with their time and energy, but also with their resources. Furthermore, Ellen's energy is unstoppable. How fortunate we are to have Ellen as part of our congregation family. I share this tribute with love and appreciation, Gary. Well, after the two rabbis, there's not a whole lot left to say, except we want to acknowledge and thank Ellen for the many contributions and thinking of the time and effort that she has offered and given to the Social Action Committee. And we would like to commemorate that with a couple of gifts. And Maya is going to be the one to hand those out. We'll bring you up here. I can hold and hand them to you after you.
Social Action Committee has dedicated a portion of a parsha in our illustrated Torah with deep gratitude to Ellen Wool for her tireless work towards Tikkun Olam and your leadership for our temple. It's the justice. I was surprised that it was not yet dedicated to anyone else, so it must have been waiting for you.
Thank you.
And as we were looking for something else, the first word that came to mind when I saw this was Ellen-esque. This is entirely Ellen-esque. Tikkun Olam and compassion.
Thank you. I'm glad I get to speak first.
And we also got you a bouquet of
Flowers
flowers.
for you, they always brighten for a bright personality.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You'll last much longer than they, but you both
I hope so.
bring a lot to our world, and you really brighten the day.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
This back here for you.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
Can I help you carry this down there?
Yes, you can.
Okay, let's go.
Thank you.
And for those of you who weren't able to see what the little plaque said, you would almost need tremendous vision to see that. It said Tikkun Olam, fixing the world on the top, and then Rachamim, or compassion, on the bottom. And then the Torah portion, Shoftim, judges. So the theme of justice, we thought, as a Social Action Committee, fit Ellen to a T. And for all of your hard work, dedication, the love that you have for our community and the greater community, let's recognize this moment with the words of the Shechianu together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Shechianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. We bless you, God, for our lives, for health, and for reaching this wonderful moment of recognition to such a deserving woman. Thank you. Hold on one second.
Second. A young soldier sought out the base chaplain, but the soldier was Catholic, and the chaplain was Jewish. The soldier, somewhat anxious and apprehensive, said, "Father, it happens, I appreciate you coming to see me, but I want to understand that I'm Catholic. I hope you won't try to change my religion." With a gentle smile, the rabbi replied, "My son, I don't want to change your religion. I want your religion to change you." When we stand for Aleinu, we must remember that religious living is not about asking God for what we want, but about listening for what God wants from us. To hear God's voice amid the clamor of everyday life, a voice guiding us to the holiness that is in life, this is our challenge, and this is where we take our stand.
Customary right before the Aleinu to offer the blessing of counting the Omer, which in biblical times was a selection or sheaf of barley that was brought to the temple in Jerusalem as an offering of gratitude to God. And on the bottom of page 11, you'll find the meditation, followed by the blessing for counting this period between the second day of Passover, our festival of freedom, and Shavuot, the Feast of Weeks, which occurs 50 days later in early June, which is connected with the receiving of Torah at Mount Sinai. So if you'd like to join me, you'll find it right on the screen and in the prayer book itself. Hineni muchan umzuman l'kayem mitzvat aseh shel sfirat ha'omer. I'm ready to fulfill the mitzvah of counting the Omer and the blessing. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sfirat ha'omer. I praise to you, Adonai, for the mitzvah of counting the Omer, or measure of barley. Today is the 28th day of the Omer, which is 4 weeks. Hayom shmona v'esrim yom shehem arba'a Shavuot la Omer. And we'll continue on page 12, the words of Aleinu, the adoration. Please rise as the ark is opened.
Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon ha'kol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כאויי הרצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות הרמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגור עלינו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
You'll find the words of Mourner's Kaddish, Kaddish Tome, on page 13. So we think of families in the period of Shloshim, the first 30 days, mourning their loved one. So we remember with affection Harold Eisner, father of Tammy Wolf, Stanley Kaplan, brother of Janice Kane, Richard Rich, friend of Denise Freifeld, and Barbara Martini, mother of Kathy Nadelson. We also mark the yahrzeit anniversary of passing of the following individuals, as we remember Max Anton, Meyer Barnett, David Blower, William J. Blitman, Lenora Bookoff, Ted Butler, Marilyn Citron, Emma Dodora, Betty Gross, Henry Hirschman, Louise Hoke, Beatrice Lippman, Lori Roberts Mayville, Leona S. Maltz, David Mann, Brina Mendelson, Eleanor Moskowitz, Al Resnick, Clara Rothman, Etta Mina Satinoff, Saul Schechter, Beatrice Schreiber, Jack Silverstein, Lori Stuller, Fortuna Unger, Bernard Ward, Dick Weber, and Adolf Wolf. Are there any other names to add for yahrzeit at this time? We say Zichronam Livracha, may the memories of all of these good people continue to be a loving blessing in their loved ones' lives as we rise to offer the words of Kaddish praise together. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, Bialma divrach hirute biamlich malchute. B'chayechon uv yomechon uv chayedechol beit Yisrael. B'agalau bisman hariv imru. Amen. Yehi shmei rabba mivarach le'olam u'lamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei dekudashah b'rihu. Le'ela min kol birkata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata ta'amiran bi'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'imramav huya aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. May the one who causes peace in the heavens cause peace to descend on us, Israel, and throughout the world, as we say, Amen.
V'imiru, 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 amen. V'imiru, 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 amen.
Feel free to be seated. We'll continue with the Kiddush and then the Motzi, both on page 14. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri agafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzah banu v'shabbat kodsho b'ava uvratzon inhilanu zikaron lemaseh bereshit ki hu yom tehillah l'mekra'e kodesh zecher letziat Mitzrayim ki banu v'acharta v'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha v'ava uvratzon inchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh ha-Shabbat. L'chaim, to life. And please join us in the Motzi, the blessing over the challah. Motzi lechem min haaretz, we give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together as our joyful prayer is said. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Pleasure to call forward Nicole Skalka. She'll be sharing the announcements for this Shabbat evening.
Shabbat Shalom. Many thanks to Rabbi Matt, Allison, and Joy for this wonderful service, and for other readers of our Social Action Committee, and our tech crew, Saul Tave and Mike Skalka. Thank you, Ellen, for your years of service as SAC chairwoman. It was the first organization within the temple I joined. It has a special place in my heart. Okay, I have a list, so I'm going to run through them pretty quick because I've got a lot. On Saturday, May 14th, that's tomorrow, you can help stamp out hunger in our community. Residents of Palm Harbor can place a bag of non-perishable food next to your mailbox. Your postal carrier will pick up the bag and bring it to Feast Food Pantry. Let's all take part in this mitzvah. Also tomorrow evening, May 14th at 7 p.m. here at Temple Ahavat Shalom, we'll welcome Gulf Coast Jewish Federation's 2 Israeli emissaries, Or Greenwald and Rotam Sharifi, for a Havdalah program highlighting their work increasing awareness about Israel. Please join us. Rabbi Matt's next set of adult ed classes begin on Tuesday, May 17th, and the topic is Navigating the Journey of the Life Cycle. On Wednesday, May 18th, Ed Marks will lead a Profile and Courage program for the Palm Harbor Museum about how our congregate, the late Frank Weiner, and the community stood up to the KKK. You need to go on the Palm Harbor Museum website to register, and they'll send you the link. Our next Shabbat morning minyan will take place on Saturday, May 21st. And now it's my pleasure to get to select the winner of the confirmation classes 50-50 fundraising raffle. So good luck. Okay, I'm not looking. All right, I've got one. All right, how exciting. Marlene Wayne. So very excited. So yay, Marlene. All right, and one last thing. I wanted to mention that our annual meeting, congregational meeting, will take place on Friday, June 24th. So mark your calendars and please plan to join us. There will be a free dinner before services, and you will also be able to attend the congregational meeting virtually if you are not able to attend. So please join us. And after services, everybody who is here, please join us in the social hall for dessert oneg. Thank you. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you. Shabbat Shalom. And a rectangular cookie cake in honor of Ellen. So if you like cookie cake, that's the place to be. We're going to conclude with the words of Peace, O say Shalom, found right on the back of your prayer book, also right there on the screen. Please join us.
Oh, say shalom bimromav, Huya say shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
And our prayer for health you'll find right on the screen. Please join me. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam asher kichanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al shmirat hanefesh, for the mitzvah and sacred obligation to protect our lives and the lives of those around us. Thank you so much for joining us on our social action Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom to each and every one of you.